Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to add on to what we talked about last class. Last class we discussed what polynomials are and how to classify them. Today we are going to work on adding and subtracting polynomials. Okay. We did this when we solved equations, but we called it combining like terms. So I only can add things together if they are the same degree. Okay, so they need the same variable and the same degree for me to add them together. And when I add them, I'm adding those coefficients. I'm not changing their degree at all. So if I look at this problem, this first one, these both have the same variable x and the same degree too. So those are like terms. I can add them together. There's essentially a 1 in front of any variable by itself like that. So I can add 1 and 4 together to get 5, and then I need to keep that variable and degree. So that's how I would add those together. In the next problem, I'm going to circle terms that are like terms that I can add together. So this is to the power of 2, and so is this. So I can add those together. So those are going to add together. That's a 1 and a 3, so that's going to be 4x squared. 2x has no like term in this other parenthesis or in its own. There's nothing else that has a degree of 1. So I'm just going to write that down here. And then lastly, I have 3 and 1 that can be added together to get 4. In this next one, the biggest, and I always want to start with the largest degree I have because I always want my answer written in standard form. So see how this goes 2, 1, 0 for degree? I want this to also be in standard form. So looking at this, the largest exponent I have is a 3. So that's what I'm going to start with. And I don't see any other like terms to go with that. I don't see any other exponents of 3. So I'm going to put that first. The next highest degree I have is 2, and I have that 5x squared. I also don't see any like terms for that one, so I'm just going to copy it down here. And then now I see x and negative 2x. So so essentially there's a 1x, right? So 1 minus 2 is going to give me negative 1x. And then lastly, I can combine this negative 4 and negative 3 to give me negative 7. At this time, I want you guys to pause the video and I want you to try these 3 problems on your own. And then when you push play on the video, I will go over those, but I want you to take a minute, pause this video, try those 3 problems on your own. When you're ready, come back and push play. Okay, so if you are listening right now, you should have just tried these 3 problems on your own. You should now be pressing play to start them. So let's see if you got the right answers. These are like terms. They both have the degree of 3. So I can add their coefficients together. 2 and 3 gives me 5, and I keep that variable and degree. X and 2x are like terms, so I can add them together to get 3x. And then I can add 5 and negative 4. 5 plus a negative 4 is going to give me a positive 1. Over here, my largest degree is 2. So I'm going to add those 2 together. 2x squared minus x squared, because if I'm adding a negative, I'm really just subtracting. So 2 minus 1 gives me 1x squared. And I'm just going to kind of cross those out to know that I'm done with those. Then I have 3x and negative x that can combine to be 2x. And then lastly, I have negative 1 and positive 1. Those actually eliminate. They cancel out. They add to be 0. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Okay. So hopefully you got those same answers. If not, hopefully I answered your question as I went over them. Other than adding, we also have subtracting. Subtracting, we really have to be careful with our signs. So I have kind of a way I like to do this is I keep the first parenthesis the same. So I write it down here. And then I change the sign of everything in this parenthesis because that negative is really distributing to everything in the parenthesis. So then I take this negative and I write it right here. I change every sign. And I'm not saying, notice I'm not saying I make them all negative. In this specific problem, they did all become negative. But if this 3 was negative and I changed this sign, it would become positive. So you just need to be careful. That does happen sometimes. Okay, look at number 11 here. Like this is a -2. So if I was going to change the sign, I would change it to a +2. Okay, so I keep this one and then I changed the sign of the second parenthesis. And if you are good with your signs, you may not even have to do that. You may just be able to do, okay, this is a like term with this, so this minus this is what? But a lot of students have a lot of trouble with their signs, so I find that this helps a little bit. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. So 4x squared and -3x squared can be combined, and they are my largest exponent. So 4x squared minus 3x squared is just x squared. I can combine 5x minus 7x. That's going to be -2x. And then I'm just left with this -1. Notice my answer is always in that descending order of degree, 2, 1, 0. Okay, and the next problem. I'm going to keep this first one, so I'm just going to rewrite it. And then I'm changing the sign of everything in my second parenthesis. So -15, -8v, -v squared. Now I'm going to simplify. My largest degree here is a 2. So I'm going to combine those. -1 and -1 combines to be -2v squared. Next, I have 7v and -8v, which is giving me -1v. 7 minus 8 is -1. And then lastly, I have 14 minus 15, which is -1. Okay, at this time, once again, I want you to pause the video, try these 3 problems on your own, and when you push play, I will go back over them. Okay, so at this time now, pause the video, try these 3 problems on your own. Okay, hopefully if you are listening, you have just come back from trying these 3 problems on your own. So I'm going to go over them now. So I'm going to keep the first parenthesis, change the sign of everything in the second parenthesis. This one is tough because I have multiple letters. Okay, so I only want to combine like terms with the same letter, and I only have 2 of those. 5r and -9r. 5 minus 9 is going to give me -4r. And then I can bring down the rest. Now, if you notice earlier, I did say descending order of degree, and it would be alphabetical. So I'm going to put this -11a first, then the r, then the s, so that I'm in standard form. If you answered this, that's totally fine. We're not going to do many problems where we have multiple variables, but good to know. SATs and things like that. This next one, I'm rewriting the first equation. I'm changing the sign of everything in the second equation. 4c minus 4c, those are going to eliminate. They're going to cancel out. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then I have -11 and -11, which gives me -22. This last one, I'm going to rewrite everything from the first parenthesis. And then the second parenthesis, I'm changing everything sign. So that becomes a -w squared, -6w squared, and this is a -2. So I'm going to change that to a +2. Now I'm going to combine my like terms, but I want to start with my largest degree. That largest degree here is 2. So I have 2 minus 1, so that's 1, minus 6. 1 minus 6 is -5, and that's that w squared. I'm just going to cross these out because I know I use them now. My next term would be this negative 5y, and it doesn't have any friends, has no like terms, so there's nothing I can combine it with. And then lastly, I have this 10 and this 2, and they're both positive. I can combine them to get 12. Okay. All right, so you guys are going to do a practice quizzes today with this, so hopefully things are making more sense. Please come to ACT Lab today if you need any help. Have a great day.